some of our speakers today, if their voices crack, if their hearts get filled with emotion, understand that it's because we're heartbroken about what is happening to our great nation. And while we are so passionate about restoring her to our founding principles. Our next speaker is a nationally recognized authority on illegal immigration. He has appeared on numerous radio and TV programs such as Fox News and CNN. As a subject matter expert, he has testified before a congressional committee on education and the American workforce, and he has been a guest lecturer at several Georgia universities. He is the founder and president of the Dustin Inman Society, which is named in memory of Dustin Inman, a 16-year-old boy from Woodstock, Georgia, who was killed by an illegal immigrant on Father's Day weekend in the year 2000. The Society is a coalition that is dedicated to educating the American public, the media, and elected officials on the consequences of illegal immigration, illegal employment, illegal administration of public benefits, our unsecured borders, and the breakdown of the rule of law in our republic. Please note the emphasis on the word illegal. Please join with me and give a Carroll County Tea Party welcome to Marine Corps veteran, Mr. D.A. King.
Thank you for the kind words. Thank you very much, everybody. Is this on?
It is now.
It is now.
I'm going to stand way away from that microphone. Thank you again very much. My name is D.A. King, and normally when I speak to a crowd who has never heard me before, I always try to explain why I introduce myself with my initials. And it's because my mom named me Donald Arthur King, which makes me Don King. So I try to do that so people don't get really worried about the boxing promoter having gone even uglier and completely bald. I'm very, very glad to be here today. And what I do is I drive around the state of Georgia and go to Washington and try to educate people on the consequences of illegal immigration. And I normally start out by saying two things, and today's not going to be any different. Right now, while we are here on this absolutely gorgeous Georgia morning, there are Border Patrol agents in the desert in Arizona and Texas and New Mexico who are risking their lives to accomplish their sworn duty to secure our borders. And I never ever want to speak without recognizing the fact that the Border Patrol agents are the unsung heroes in this country. Thank you. I remember where I was a year ago tomorrow. And having been to the border 5 or 6 times, I can tell you that right now, 10 years after the horror of 9/11, people are coming into our country illegally and uninspected from all corners of the world, including from countries with known terrorist ties. So when you hear the term illegal immigration, please do not only picture in your head someone who comes here from a very, very poor country trying to better their life and is willing to cut your grass for $10 an hour. Illegal immigration is a crime, and it is a threat to this country. The other thing I try to do is to explain something that's very important to me, and that is the way that people who can be described only as anti-enforcement on our immigration laws try to twist the English language. And what they do is they try to make you believe that if you are against illegal immigration, then somehow you are against immigration or immigrants. So I'm here to tell you, the federal definition of the word immigrant is somebody who comes to the United States lawfully with the intention of permanent residence. Someone who comes here illegally to make a buck and go home is not an immigrant. Someone who comes here illegally is not an immigrant. People who stand up and say illegal immigration is wrong are not anti-immigrant. The correct, proper, and legal term for somebody who is here illegally is illegal alien. An alien is simply someone who is here and is not a citizen. My adopted sister is an immigrant who happened to come to us from Korea. Many of the people who support the Dustin Inman Society are real legal immigrants. I have several friends in the audience right now who are married to immigrants and are immigrants. I also never talk about this without making something very, very clear. When I stand up in a room and talk about illegal immigration, people try to silence me by calling us, and people like myself, a lot of very, very ugly names. So I try to make my agenda as crystal clear as possible before I educate people. And I do have an agenda, and I'm curious to know if it matches yours. I was taught as a child of the 60s that justice in America is an equal application of the law and that no one is above the rule of law in this country. I was taught that the fundamental duty of the federal government of the United States of America is to secure our borders. If they don't secure our borders, what else are they good for? I'm really, really big on sustainable, reasonable levels of immigration. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But one of my biggest concerns, and one of the reasons that I quit my business and I do what I do, is that I can see our country slipping away from us. And I can see the one thing that binds together one of the most diverse nations on the planet. So part of my agenda is this. I believe that English should be the common and official language of the United States of America, and I don't care who knows it. I thought so. Thank you. Now, I came here, and there's a couple of thank yous that I have to do. How many people know that in this last session in the Georgia legislature, that we passed and Governor Deal signed into law a bill called House Bill 87, the Georgia Illegal Immigration Reform and Enforcement Act. Let me tell you what, folks, it was a heck of a fight. Some thank yous go out to some people who are here today. I saw Senator Seabaugh here, and I wanted to personally say thank you from here for his fine work in the Senate. Bill Hamrick, your senator from here, did exemplary work in the Senate, and he should be thanked for that. I don't see my friend Tim Bearden, but he worked on it hard as well. The entire Georgia legislature worked very, very hard against millions of dollars worth of lobbying from people who wanted to stop the state of Georgia from enforcing the immigration and employment and benefits laws that our federal government is refusing to do. I urge you to please insist that the law we all worked so hard on in the Capitol this last session is enforced to the very, very letter of the law. The United States of America takes in more real, legal immigration than any nation on this planet. We take in more than 1 million real, legal immigrants a year. 1 million. Traditional levels of immigration are around 250 to 300,000. We also take in more than 1.5 million guest workers. The people who lobby against enforcing our immigration laws are doing so for the dollar. Please remember that. When we go to the Capitol and we go into committee and we say, Mr. Chairman, here's a reason we should pass this law, It's not just the ACLU that lobbies against us. A lot of people don't want to hear this, but I'm telling you, it was the Chamber of Commerce and the agriculture industry who put up the biggest and most effective fight for us to get our bill through. Remember who your enemies are when it comes to enforcement of immigration laws. And I say that because next year is an election year. And we've got people running for president now who are saying that they will grant some kind of legalization plan if they can make us believe the borders are secure. So I have a question. By a raise of hands, how many people here know that in 1986, the United States of America issued a one-time amnesty legalization program to about 3 million people who were here illegally? Less than half the crowd. That's pretty normal. What we were told in 1986, folks, was that we have a very, very difficult illegal immigration problem, that there are people here illegally lowering American wages and taking American jobs. And the only way we're going to be able to fix the problem is that we're going to make these people who came here illegally legal. And then, folks, we're going to secure the American border and we're going to punish the employers who hired these illegal people. So the amnesty went through, Ronald Reagan signed it, we legalized 3 million people, and now it's here in 2011. You can judge for yourself if the border is secure. It's not, I've been there. And you can judge for yourself whether or not an employer has a better chance of being punished for hiring illegal labor or being struck by lightning. I'm telling you, it's the latter. We cannot honor the rich tradition of immigration in this country. We cannot honor real, legal immigrants unless we enforce the law that says you just can't come here when you want to. If we do not enforce our employment laws when we have soaring unemployment, if we allow illegal labor to be hired while there are Americans and real legal immigrants standing in the unemployment line, we are not fulfilling the duties that we were given as citizens. I plead with you to note what any candidate says that's running for president of the United States on immigration, because immigration is not, repeat, not a separate issue from most other issues in this country. It's not a separate issue from education. It's not a separate issue from health care. It's not a separate issue from the budget dollars, your taxes. The governor of Georgia is using a figure of $2.4 billion that Georgia spends every year to educate, provide health care and incarceration to people who have no business to be here and their children. I am pleading with you to please pay attention in the presidential elections and make the candidate say this: I will never, ever again allow a legalization program by any name to legalize people who are here illegally. The answer is that we enforce the law and we watch people go home because they can't get a job, they can't get a benefit, and they can't get a service. I'm going to close with this. Tomorrow is the 10th anniversary of 9/11. Right now we take in 1 million immigrants a year and another 1.5 million guest workers. Now, the jobs report that came out September 2nd showed 0 jobs growth. 0. It is very clear to anybody with the sense that God gave a crook neck squash that Obama has to go. I plead with you to replace him with someone who pays attention to the immigrant and honors immigration and enforces our immigration laws. And remember this, 10 years after 9/11, the people coming into this country on a visa are not monitored. We do not now have, even 10 years after 9/11, a system in place in the greatest country in the world that monitors when people leave this country. Once you get a visa to come to the United States, unless you rob a bank or get convicted of murder or rape, your chances of getting arrested and shipped out of the country are practically nil. I am in great envy and appreciation of everybody who is a member of a Tea Party and will come out here on a Saturday morning or meet on a Tuesday night on your own because you're trying to save the country that was passed on down to us. I plead with you to remember that immigration and illegal immigration are as much a part of what we need to pay attention to as any other issue, and I plead with you to remember that in the presidential election. I am very grateful for your time, and I'm going to tell you this. Right now, we have somewhere between 12 and 20 million people in this country who are here in violation of our law. When I started this, I went to the Georgia Capitol and I watched about 250 illegal aliens march in front of the Capitol, waving flags from a foreign country, demanding a Georgia driver's license, demanding that we make them legal, and demanding the right to vote. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Last month, the month before, there were 10,000 illegal aliens marching in front of the Georgia Capitol, making the same demand that we make them legal and give them the right to vote. Remember this, if a president of any party legalizes the people here in this country, it will be the largest addition to the progressive far-left Democrat voting rolls that you have ever seen in your life. On illegal immigration, folks, if you ain't mad, it's because you ain't paying attention. I'm very grateful for your time. Thank you very, very much.